Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Foundry. Cheer? Anything? Yeah, woo! Come on, it's the weekend. It's a Friday afternoon. The Euros are starting. The weather is it's not raining, at least, anyway. But I'm really, really excited to have you all here today. And just to introduce myself, my name is Marie Davis, and I am the head of sales for SMEs in Ireland. And I took on the role a couple of years ago, and what has really struck me about digital and the world that we all work in is how much it's been changing over the last couple of years. How many people in the audience checked their phone this morning before they got out of bed? Okay, I am glad to see I am not in the minority here. I think that's pretty much everybody. So it's a really normal thing to do now. When I first started working at Google, we were talking about how mobile was the future, and it was going to be the year of the mobile, and mobile was going to take off. And now, a couple of years later, mobile is just standard. So everyone has a mobile phone, and everyone is on it all the time. Now we're talking about wearables. We're talking about smart televisions. We are talking about in-car entertainment. In fact, before I came up here, one of my colleagues was talking to me about smart suitcases and how you can now locate your suitcase if it's lost using technology. So we are working in an environment that is so fast-paced and is changing so much. I think if you told me when I started Google that these are the types of things we'd be talking about, I wouldn't have believed you. In tangent with that, people are changing. We don't go online anymore. We now live online. That's where we are. A colleague came into the office a couple of months ago, and he'll actually kill me for telling the story, but I'm going to tell it anyway. And I am from Cork. Are there any people from Cork in the audience? Yes, woo! Oh, look, brilliant. Hi everyone. Hi, Cork people. We always seek each other out. Well, I'm from West Cork, and there's a place in West Cork called Lochine. And it is a mountain, and you climb this mountain. Well, it's a hill, but depends on your fitness levels, but I call it a mountain. And when you climb to the top of this mountain, you can look over at this beautiful lake, and you can look out over the Atlantic Ocean, and it's absolutely stunning. So my colleague had been down to West Cork, and I knew that he was going down there. So I just said to him, how did you get on at the weekend? He was like, oh, brilliant, we climbed Lochine. I was like, oh my God, amazing, how was it? He said, well, we couldn't really see anything because it was all foggy and it was all, there was no views there. I said, that's really disappointing. It's like, the view was amazing. And he said, well, no, we didn't miss out on the view. And I was kind of like, well, how? But you couldn't have seen it with the fog and everything. And he goes, yeah, no, we just sat on the top of the mountain and we took out our phones and we Google imaged it. So he's like, we didn't miss out. So I started to think to myself that either I'm a fool because I've been spending money on like flights and train journeys to go and see sites and I could have just looked at them on my phone, or else actually this is just another way that we are now starting to experience the world. Because technology has changed, but people are clearly changing with it as well. The other thing that really, really struck me, particularly coming in and seeing the amazing agenda that you have ahead of you for this afternoon, was actually about how this has all meant that we are no longer local. We are now all international. Some of the companies we deal with are a sweet shop in Kilkenny that's exporting to Australia and to Japan, or there's a retailer in the west of Ireland that's exporting to 63 different countries. So this is just an incredible opportunity that we have. Digital is fast-paced. Digital is changing so fast. And we are working in this industry. And it's a really, really exciting place to be because we're on the cutting edge of everything that's happening at the moment, but we're actually on the cutting edge of everything that's going to be the norm in the future. And with that, I am going to let you experience the day and all the amazing agenda items that we have in store. I'm really excited to hear some of the speakers today. And I'm going to pass you over to the man who's behind the whole event today, Alan Coleman.
Thanks very much, Marie. So, hello everybody, you're very welcome to Wolfgang Essentials 2016. And brilliant, like over 300 digital marketers in a room in Dublin. How brilliant is that? Judging by the suntan faces looking back at me, it actually looks more like I'm in Lisbon than I'm in Dublin. But we're thrilled that you chose to come and spend the afternoon with us today. Appreciate it being a short week. You're probably all strapped for time, so it's brilliant that you all took the time to come talk to us today. We have a brilliant agenda, we have a jam-packed afternoon with loads of great insights there for you. So thanks for showing up. Big thanks to Marie and a huge thanks to Google for giving us the use of the Foundry. What an amazing venue. Quick show of hands, is it the first time for anybody in the Foundry today? Oh yeah, quite a few people. Brilliant. So, and what a privilege it is. Like, I get to go to digital marketing conferences all over the world. This is easily the best venue, hands down, I've ever been in. So we're delighted to Google to give it to us for today for Wolfgang Essentials 2016. It's been an interesting journey, a fun journey, Wolfgang Essentials. Their first one was in the Royal College of Anaesthetists back in 2013. You can imagine there was a couple of jokes out of hosting it there. I think we said there was 50 people in the room, but we were rounding upwards. I think it might have been 40 odd. Then we went to the Lighthouse Cinema. Then in 2014, Google were really good to give us the use of the Foundry. In 2015, we had it again, and here we are today. And actually, we had 150 people here last time, and we had 360 registered for today. So, you know, absolutely delighted that there's such interest. So, will we take this photo? Let's take the 2016 version of this photo now. So if you don't mind, if everyone could, Dave, our photographer, is going to come up on the stage. If everybody could stand up, and if we could turn the lights up so that the crowd are in it. And could you lower the front ones a little bit, please? Yeah, I'm going to get in as well. Are those like... Keith, if it's possible to bring the front lights down a bit, that'd be cool. And everybody give Dave a wave, a smile and a wave. Hi, Dave. Woo. Thank you so much. Great stuff. Cheers. Thanks a million for participating there. And that was a bit of fun, actually. When I was flicking through the pictures of the previous events, I could notice a couple of the longer-term clients having a squint there to see if they could see themselves. You were one of them, Phil. And so we preempted this, and we spent a little bit of time over the last few weeks trawling the internet, looking for pictures of you guys, so we could put them up on the big screen. So here's what we found. There's Mark, Constantin, there's Roland. Sinead. Abbas. And the last one, I can see people squirming. Don't put one up of me. So if you didn't see yourself, don't be upset. That's a good thing. We did find photos of you, but we chose not to put them up on the big screen. So it's appropriate to have pictures of yourselves up on the big screen because this afternoon really is all about you. And just to echo some of Marie's sentiments earlier, it has to be said, like, now is a great time to be a digital marketer. You are all now the most important marketers in your organization. It's more than a year since digital overtook TV as the most popular marketing channel. So events like this are a great place for you to be, to continue to add value. And our mission for this afternoon for you is for every single one of you to walk out one of those doors at the end with your minds on fire. So more informed as to what the online opportunity for you is, armed with insights on how you can go about capitalizing on that opportunity. And if you've done a really good job, you'll have a smile on your face because we might have managed to entertain you as we go as well. So there's two reasons I think that us in Wolfgang Digital are uniquely positioned to bring you an event like this. Number one is we get to a lot of events all over the world, so we get to bring you the best of. But the other one, and this is something not a lot of people know about us, but we actually host an internal digital marketing conference every single Tuesday. So every Tuesday between 2 and half 3, we all down tools and we put on a conference for ourselves. So different members of the team will talk about, here's the innovations that were released this week. Different members of the team will share their case studies. Here's something that worked really well for me this week. We'll actually audit each other's work. And this can be funny because someone sat in the seat and everybody else is having a go at suggesting improvements for their and your campaigns. And we have a general discussion on what's going on. So what we're bringing you today, in a way, is the best of our Technical Insight Tuesdays over the last year. So on the agenda, ram-packed. We've had our welcome. I'm going to do news now. We have some great guest speakers. Constantin, we're going to talk about cross-channel marketing, AdWords, Facebook. We're then going to have a coffee break. When we come back, we're going to talk about content, bringing offline budget online successfully, export, attribution. Another of our great guest speakers, Lexi Mills, is going to talk to us. Then your eyes don't deceive you. We're very aware that at this point we're going to be deep into Friday evening or Friday afternoon, so we're going to have a Prosecco break. Yep. So then when you wobble back in after that, we're going to go to the quick fire talks, right? So these are 3-minute talks. Someone's going to get up, share something with you, get down, and we're going to plow through those. And these are great. We used these last year, and the feedback on them was people really like them. So lots of really interesting topics been covered there. We then do the Q&A. All the speakers will be back up on the stage. And we'll finish with our infamous last person standing quiz. So 2 people will walk away today. One of you is going to walk away with an iPad mini. The other one's going to walk away with another high-end electrical device, which is way more fun than an iPad mini. So some housekeeping. Don't turn your phone off, whatever you do. Please tweet, snap, share, whatever you like. Hashtag is Wolfgang Essentials. For the Q&A, so if questions occur to you as the talks are going, don't shout them out, please just tweet them with the hashtag and with the hashtag Q&A, okay? And then we'll come to those at the end. If you see a question from somebody else and you like that question, like it, hit the star there, or the heart as it is now on Facebook. And we'll see that as a vote for that question, and we'll be able to curate the Q&A better at the end. We've won a rake of awards recently, so we're actually going to share with you the actual case studies that we submitted, like the actual slides we submitted that won the awards. We're going to share those with you today. So if you see this icon in the bottom left, that means what we're sharing with you now is directly from one of our award-winning entries. And just to finish up on the housekeeping, we're going to make this interactive. My main gripe with conferences is they're still a kind of a replica of traditional media where it's one-to-many too frequently. So we're going to try and make it many-to-many, and we're going to use Kahoot to interact with you and do some crowd surveys. So if everyone could whip out their phone, please. This will only take a second. Go to Google and search Kahoot. And then you should be brought here. At this point, you don't need to do anything. Just keep that there. So when we do start to do the surveys, we're all set up. So actually, if we can go back to the slides, we're not actually going to Kahoot now. Yeah, thanks very much. All right. So now we're going to talk about Wolfgang news. So I'm just going to share with you the stuff that's been happening with us since we spoke to you last, since our client event at the beginning of last year. So we've been growing the gang. There's now 31 digital marketers in Wolfgang Digital. I think that makes us the biggest performance agency in Ireland, but I'm not sure. In order to house all the new bodies, we moved gaff middle of last year. We moved to this beautiful building. It looks like it's in East Berlin, but that's actually Fenian Street. And this is the Google Street View of it. And what I love about this is if you zoom right in to the top floor, can you make that out? There's a wolf and his jocks trying to scare people who are passing by. Just up there, we brought him along with us, as you can see. So we didn't just try and scare passers-by with the wolf and his jocks. When we moved in, rather than introduce ourselves to our neighbours with cake, we decided to scare the bejesus out of them with the wolves. So check out this video on the big screen.
Going up.
Brilliant. And that's just the 30-second. There's a 3-minute version of that on our YouTube channel, if you fancy a further giggle. So it didn't take the third floor long to wreak their revenge. We arrived into work over Christmas, and our mannequins were missing, and there was a severed arm masking taped to our door, accompanied by a ransom note demanding cakes be delivered to the third floor. So I acquiesced. I brought them their cakes. But then we bided our time. And on the 1st of April, a troop of Wolfgangers snuck into the building at 7 a.m. and we crept down to the toilets on the third floor and we set this scene. So I don't know if you can see, but it looks like it's engaged. The red sign's there, but the door was just slightly ajar. So by about 9:15, there was a queue of people impatient with their knees knocking in the men's toilets on the 3rd floor. And eventually some particularly impatient fella went up and swang the door open, which was slightly ajar. So wolves in the lift had become wolves in the jacks. So we had a lot of fun. So the ball's firmly in their court, so I wonder what's coming next. So since we saw you last, we've been doing a lot of jet setting. We've spoken at 12 different conferences in 8 different cities. And the number I like most is there's actually 11 different members of the team have spoken at a major conference since. So you've access to a lot of thought leaders, you know, that really irksome word. Today, the spoken word has travelled far for us, so has the written word. So there's been 4 of us blogging for Moz, for Search Marketers Bible Moz. And only last week, our John only went and invented a metric. And he wrote about that, and that's been published on another leading US blog, PPC Hero. So John's actually going to share that with you in one of the quickfire talks later on. I have to pinch myself. We've had an astonishing run of award wins in the last while. We entered 2 ceremonies last year, the DMAs and the European Search Awards, and we won Best Agency in the DMAs, and we won the Grand Prix in the European Search Awards. We entered 3 ceremonies this year, so we won a number of trophies in the DMAs, including Best Search. We won Best Agency for our size in Europe, and only last Wednesday, you might notice, I haven't said this publicly yet, but we were in the UK Drum Search Awards. So I tried to enter last year, and they said, you can't enter your Irish campaigns in this UK competition. But this year they said, you can lock your Irish campaigns in there alongside the UK ones, and sure, we'll see how we go. So our work for Littlewoods won its category, and we only went and won the Grand Prix. So that means of the 300 and something entries they had, they felt that Littlewoods' Irish campaigns were the best campaigns across the board. So kind of have to pinch myself. It's pretty unbelievable. Really proud. And I think this was the proudest moment. I grew up a Nottingham Forest fan, so the football fans among you will know that Nottingham Forest are famous for coming from being rank outsiders to European champions 2 years in the trot. So this is the moment we did that in the European Search Awards. I think I'm the 2nd proudest man in Paris. The proudest man in Paris in this moment is the curly-haired photo bomber who joined us on stage, totally unbeknownst to ourselves. Even when we were getting off stage, we didn't realise. And it was only that when we saw the photos 2 days later, we realised Sideshow Bob had been there celebrating with us. And so I was looking for kind of correlations, like what am I learning here? This batch of award entries we did was very successful. What can I learn from this? And so the Wolfgang promises, we're always focusing on performance, innovation, communication. And the communication one, I think, is often underestimated in general, and it's the only one I guess we can't do by ourselves. And when I looked at the clients' campaigns that were winning, it was Brown Thomas, it was iClothing, it was Littlewoods, and it was McElhenny's. On average, we've been working for them for 3.5 years. So I think what that tells us, and we enjoy great relationships with all our clients, but I think it's fair to categorize these as, above average or exceptional relationships. So there's a lot of trust there. We both know what's possible on each other's side, and we get a lot of leeway. I think we get leeway to act on insights, to follow our instinct. And sometimes it doesn't work at all, and sometimes it does. But the cumulative effect of doing that over 2, 3, 4 years it seems, international award-winning campaigns. So I think there's a great lesson there. So maybe we can all work a little harder on excellent communications. Well, there's lots of evidence there that the digital marketing's coming along quite well and client communications are going well. There's one area within marketing that we haven't really covered ourselves in glory. And when I say we, really I mean me. So I've enjoyed or experienced 1 or 2 what I call PR bombs of late. So as some of you will know, we did Taoiseach come to open our new office last year, and I was trying to drum up some publicity. So I was talking to a couple of publications. One of them was the Journal, and they said, look, we're not interested in the Taoiseach thing. Everyone else will cover that. We're interested in you, the story of Wolfgang. And I was like, this thing's great. And they're like, come on, we'll have a coffee and talk about it. So I went, and the cycle over there, I was kind of thinking, here's my 3 points I want to get across, and got them across, but the mistake I made was I then kept talking. And I might have cursed once or twice. And then at the very end of the interview, he just slipped in. He said, oh, that piece in The Guardian did on you, why you, as a Be Your Own Customer project, he opened the online sex toy shop. He said, that was brilliant. Like, can you tell me about that? So I waxed lyrical about that. And then as I'm cycling back to the office, and I had one of those moments, I'm sure you know it, your skin just freezes. And I was like, oh, he's going to do the Enda Kenny opens a dildo factory story. I was there, oh my God. And I contacted him. I said, you're not going to do this? No, I'm not going to do that. But he did. And he also printed the curses verbatim. So I was quite embarrassed and frustrated at myself for being naive as well. But I consoled myself by saying, this is one of those mistakes you only make once. So this one, I know I actually don't need to tell you guys this story, because when I linked to it in our newsletter with the word apology, it was the most clicked on link we've ever sent by a factor of 2. So there's a content marketing lesson somewhere in there. But I was embarrassed by this one, and I said, oh, geez, what have you done, Al? I was thinking, it's probably the Irish Times, no one's going to be interested in a story like this. But evidently, they were. So I had some sleepless nights kind of torturing myself over it. And like a smarter person than I once said that there's no such thing as bad publicity. So I looked at it from lots of angles over lots of time, thinking, oh, is it good, is it bad? And then eventually I realized that actually what I think doesn't really matter whatsoever. What the Irish Times readers think, that doesn't matter whatsoever. What the broadsheet commenters, that doesn't matter. The only people whose opinion matter is you guys. It's our clients and our community. And that's how I think. Whenever we're doing marketing, I'm always thinking, well, is this going to be interesting, useful, or entertaining to those? So the fact that you're all here means I should really ask you. So at an appropriate time later on, I'm going to put it to you, and I'd love your honest opinion as to whether you think that was good or bad publicity. So always looking for a silver lining anyway. I whipped out a quote. One of Ireland's leading digital marketing agencies. We stuck it in an Adwords ad text, and we quadrupled our click-through rate. So all wasn't lost anyway. But enough of the messing. I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker. So I've seen this person speak twice last year, and I was mesmerized on both occasions. Lots of you will be familiar with him from the press, from the TV. He's a professor of finance in Trinity. He told me the story earlier, it's brilliant, but he's the man that Dennis O'Brien wants to take off the airwaves, that News Talk and that. Constantin might tell you the story a little later on instead. But for that reason, I'm delighted to give him the stage. So if you can put your hands together and welcome Constantin Gurdgiev, please.
Well, you just gave me my sex toy story as well there, okay? So that's an equivalent. I'm not going to be talking about Dennis O'Brien. No problem whatsoever with Dennis O'Brien or anybody else for that matter. What I will be talking about, I have no idea actually. Well, I do have some ideas, scant idea, but let's do an exercise in managed democracy, okay? I'll pop up 5 topics that I think I can say a few words on. You take a vote. That's the democracy bit. The managed bit is that I prepared, obviously, the questions. So in some way, this is like, Russian democracy style. You vote for them. And we'll select the most popular amongst you topic, and I'll talk about that. And then we'll repeat the exercise again, and we'll do the second one. And hopefully we'll still have time for the third one left. I don't think we'll have for all the 5 of them. So anyways, let me start. No, this is not. Is there anything alive? Oh, OK. Anyways. This is, OK, so the first topic I have for you is the online economy. Now, here what I want to talk about is the whole issue of the relationship between the growth in the online economy and the risks that are coming in from the online economy itself. This is about the idea of margins. So business perspective, I'm not a digital person as such. I use digital platforms, but I don't study digital platforms as such, as by themselves. I'm a person who comes from financial background. So for me, what's important about the company is the profitability, growth rates, and things like that. So margins are about profits. And where does online economy move us in terms of that? And then beyond that, to me, also the future is in atomization. Companies, your clients primarily, and you yourselves, will be facing the audiences which are heavily atomized. In other words, they're completely separate. The idea of social is going to disappear out of the networks. Networks will become personal. And when networks become personal, ultimately the common denominator is one. There are problems with that, and you will be facing those problems. Artificial intelligence leading us into the world of those problems first and foremost, but even beyond that, technology is evolving in a direction where you will have to deal not with mass marketing, not with addressing the large audiences, but addressing an audience of one. That's what your clients will be facing, and how you adapt to it as marketeers and advertisers, as the optimizers of the social media use and things like that, that's up to you. So that's the first topic. The second topic is the whole idea of relationship between the old media and the new media. And by the old media, I don't mean newspapers. I mean Facebook. And the reality is that Facebook and the rest of the social media, in my view, is traveling exactly down the same curve as the traditional media has gone. Yes, the revenue is booming right now. Yes, the employment levels in social media, for example, and online economy have now surpassed the traditional media. First year that happened was the end of last year, first time in history, in terms of the numbers of people employed worldwide in the sector itself. Sure, it's a booming sector, but we all know that booming sectors disappear fairly fast. Technology is evolving very rapidly, and it's leading towards the idea of what I would call the content and platform bubble. So beyond that, there is a cliff, when that bubble will have to be sorted out. And I want to talk to you about how that cliff is going to evolve and what potentially emerges on the other end of it. This is not a view of 1 year, 2 years, but it's also not a view of 10 years. Again, technology evolves so fast nowadays that we're talking about future being very proximate, 3, 5 years perhaps. Third topic I have for you that I would like to discuss as well is the idea of data, relationship between the data, analytics, and artificial intelligence. Again, you're all familiar with analytics. You're all familiar with the buzzword du jour as the big data. To me, as a social scientist, as an academic, big data is neither new nor actually promising. And I think your clients are starting to realize that as well, and some of you are starting to realize that as well. There is a lot of criticism of big data, but hey, actually all of that is truly academic. Because once AI takes over as a main platform or as a main delivery tool for the platforms, for the interactions of your clients and their clients as well, what's going to happen is that the idea of big data is going to converge onto itself and become a singularity. It's going to be the idea of one data, my data, and nobody else's. There's a beauty to it in the sense that there is zero error. You don't have to do statistical models for identifying what I want. You just have to ask me. And that's good. You will be able to do so through the AI and the platforms that AI is going to engender. But the problem with that is, what's your job then? Who's going to pay you money to identify what I want? And the reality is, I think no one. So when we talk about robotics, when we talk about AI displacing jobs of the professionals and everything else, hey, I know economists will exist because we are so good at bullshitting. Look, I'm doing it right now, yes? No AI will ever replace us. But in marketing, there's something else going to have to happen. There's going to something else happen in terms of content creation as well, industry. It's going something else to happen with the firms that are producing goods and services, with the design shops which design goods and services, with the firms which deliver goods and services, supply chain management, and all of that. The entire economy is going to be dramatically changed. It's again idea of atomization that I talk about in the online economy. Okay? Fourth topic. Well, hey, listen, before all of that happens, we have to make some dosh. Where do we make dosh? Well, the problem is that world opportunities are changing. Global economy is changing, and it ain't changing in a good direction right now. Yes, there is growth. Yes, there is recovery. Yes, there is some pickup in terms of demand in the countries like Ireland, for example, and there is a contraction of demand in some other countries, such as the emerging markets. But what's really is different today is that if 5 years ago we were talking about globalization and trade as an opportunity set, now we're talking about globalization and trade as drug, effectively, on growth. And this is an interesting one because, in my view, export opportunities are there. They're tremendously interesting opportunities, but they're evolving and they're changing. And right now you have the old traditional exporting economy like China creating a glut of surplus goods which is sitting in China, and they're unable to shift it out because no one is buying it. They're producing more than they consume themselves, and no one else is buying their stuff anymore. Well, it's a little bit out there, but yeah, okay, you get the allegory. But at the same time, countries like Germany, countries like Switzerland, they are managing to sustain their exports engines. So what is it that differentiates them? And what's in the future in terms of the opportunities for the experts and expert development as well? To me, it's an interaction between the open market, which is becoming increasingly borderless, despite the fact that the governments are trying to do everything to create bigger borders between themselves today, and at the same time, demand, which is in its nature becoming more and more closed, more and more concentrated on local market, more and more concentrated on local chains of production and supply. Finally, the fifth topic that you get to choose from the list is the Irish economy through 2020. I don't know, Wolfgang Digital asked me to talk about Irish economy, so I guess I have to. But there are interesting things in the Irish economy. Irish economy is a small microcosm of the global economy. And we can't talk about Irish economy and replace the word Irish with a global in exactly the same context. The future of the Irish economy over the next 5 years is still going to be very similar and influenced by forces that we're seeing today. It is the ghosts of the crisis on one hand and the wings of change on the other. Which one is stronger? Depends on the structure and institutions of the economy. And the concluding bit there is the most interesting one, because it's not about the macroeconomic performance, it's not about microeconomic type of firms that exist in the country or anything else. It's about culture, to me, which drives that potential for the wings to take over the ghosts. So that might be interesting as well, certainly interesting from those of you point of view who are trading in Ireland itself. So how are we doing the voting now? So I think you guys have some sort of interactive clicker or something else, no?
Yeah, so we're going to go to the Kahoot, which you pulled out earlier. So the way it's going to work is you're going to be asked for a pin, and please put up the pin up top there. You'll then be presented with 4 options. So when we do the first round, Constantine's giving you 5 topics. You'll be able to vote on 4 of them now. We'll introduce the 5th in the second round of voting.
Can we get them back, the options on the list there? So
they're going to come up
oh,
here
good,
now.
yeah. Excellent.
Believe,
yeah. Ooh, I feel like president of Russia right now. What is going to be the vote? 99% or 98.5%?
So you've got 30 seconds to vote by touching.
There's
just
Irish economy as well there. Remember,
that's going to come
5.
up in the next round. So we can only fit.
Oh,
yeah,
only
we'll
4.
introduce that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll get rid of 1 and then we'll add the Irish economy as a residual. Michael Noonan wouldn't like that bit.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah,
Okay.
no suspense music at all. So which one is it, the old media versus new media? Okay, all right. Can we
Run
get
away.
some slides going there? Okay.
So just so everybody knows the format, Constantine's got 7 minutes
Dear.
to talk about this.
Darn.
We have a big gong. Owen's got a big gong. And when the clock goes to 0, Owen's going to ding.
Let's see how it goes. He already ate 5 seconds of my time, by the way. There. Oh, no, it got reset. Okay. So anyways, I've done it with a gong before. It's annoying, I'm telling you. So anyways, the new media versus the old media is about the interaction between the way we communicate with our audiences, okay? And also about the change in our audiences themselves. The problem is that currently we're in a comfort zone in terms of the old media. And again, remember, the old media is the traditional social media that I'm talking about here, okay? Consumption on the foot of that is rising. The efficiency of delivering that consumption is rising. Margins are falling. Sorry, margins are rising, not falling, sorry about that. Costs are falling in terms of delivery of that as well. And the efficiency overall and productivity of the old media is still okay. So we're in some sort of the comfort zone. The only problem is that what we're experiencing right now is that the idea, the notion that you attract people into the social media and keep them in social media and their attention in terms of the focusing on whatever you present in them is the content driven. That is changing very rapidly because content is no longer the king as such. Now, when we mean content, we mean the meaning really. The content which is created for people or by people with some meaning. There is also a rising notion of a fatigue. And the problem with it is that the commercialization of social media and data content overload are certainly playing havoc in terms of the way the social media is being used. You saw the evolution of the Snapchat. That's the response to it, yes? You saw the evolution of other platforms as well, and newer platforms, which are compressing the speed of interaction and compressing the content of interaction to smaller and smaller and smaller bits. They're becoming more and more difficult to market too. Banner ads efficiency and things like that is changing as well. There is also overproliferation of platforms and saturation of those platforms and channels. I mean, I happen to spend most of my time nowadays in California. And that is a laboratory, literally, of new ideas and new things that are coming up all of the time. All of that means that the interaction, meaningful interaction, the ability to actually get the content through the content created for the consumer, to the consumer, is falling. The good news here is that we're not yet in a full-blown content bubble. Media-driven inbound leads themselves are still about 1.5 times more efficient or more productive in generating traffic than outbound leads. These are simple stats from the last year, so they're very current. Inbound leads are about 1/2 the cost, so it means that you both generate more efficiently leads and at a lower cost as well. But content space is becoming increasingly crowded. Social media is converging in its efficiency towards the blogging platforms. So, for example, in leads generation efficiency, it's currently at 14% higher, double efficiency of the blogging platforms, but it used to be at about 25%. So you can see the curve going down. You know what happened to the blogs? They became the domain of people like myself, old dinosaurs talking in big mathematical formulas. That's not a channel through which you can sell. The next thing is also the web traffic itself is also flattening out in the rates of growth. Why? Because we're hitting saturation point. There's about 2 trillion, over 2 trillion, about 2.3 trillion web users. They're facing 5.3 trillion web-based ads or online ads. Facebook alone is delivering 1.7 trillion bits of content annually. There is an oversaturation. The human capacity to consume this is falling off. So we're leading into the world where people are starting to react to social media overproliferation by becoming social media Luddites. Now keep that in mind, because the idea of Luddite is somebody who is rejecting technology. That's not exactly what the social media Luddites are. I'll talk about them in a different context, a bit more in detail probably. Anyways, at the same time, on the business end of things, we have a very big problem as well. A lot of companies are now engaging in not quite manipulating, but misstating their performance metrics, primarily because they're focusing on metrics that you guys are providing them with. There is a very interesting piece of research which just came out of the Stanford Business School, which looks at from accountancy point of view, at financial statements by the corporations in the United States and even worldwide, actually. And what they find is that the financial statements become increasingly meaningless from the point of view of analyzing the health of the enterprise, because they are increasingly focusing on metrics from social media. So things like reach, engagement, influence, conversion, things which what we call in economics and finance soft metrics. They tell me nothing about profitability, they tell me nothing about the revenues, they tell me nothing about cost or capital structure of the firm. The problem with that is that as the firms, as your clients evolve over time, they're going to have to go back to the investors and justify their being on financial metrics. These metrics are irrelevant to them. If they are now still relevant to the users, to the companies themselves in terms of attracting customers, but becoming already irrelevant to the investors, and down the pipeline they're going to become less and less relevant as a reflection of demand as well by the consumers, you're in trouble if you are still sticking to the old metrics as well. In the meantime, the users are turning off. They're turning away. I said that before in terms of the fatigue. So are we facing right now the potential revolt of the user, the revolt of the middle? We are. There's some interesting statistics out of the United States. In 2010, 13% of Americans opted to forego TV services. In 2015, that was 19%. Okay. You can say that TV is a traditional media, but that includes Netflix. That includes the online channels for the TV provision as well. 65% of those who are aged between 18 and 29, young users, had cable or satellite services at home in 2015. 83% are the older demographic. So if you're looking for the new customers, they're not in the traditional media space. That again includes the non-traditional TV channels as well. Of those who opted to cut the cord, 84% had advanced internet access. Again, they are not watching structured channels. They are not watching structured content. Content is not exactly the king anymore. The key is that in the future, your clients and yourselves will have to be instrument in choice and empower and supply at the same time as instrument in choice. Instrument in choice by consumers is a tricky bit. We haven't done it really well so far. We haven't figured out how to do that so far. We develop a product, then we sell the product. Instrument in choice is helping the consumer to develop the product in the first place. Different angle, different entry point in terms of business. Empowering the supply by instrumenting that choice is yet another problem itself. Logistics chain starts with the consumer, not with the producer. The chain starts with the producer. Jesus, I mean, I haven't even gone to the actual answers. You know, you like use the economists of never given answers and given criticism, so I'm just gonna blow through that and give you an answer there, okay? So the answer here is actually, interestingly enough, change in technology, artificial intelligence, which will facilitate transmission between the choice and supply. Automating choice for consumer, making choice intuitive and individual for consumer. When I say choice, I mean everything from design of a simple paperclip to the design of a complex car or the transportation service, okay? That is a hoped-for answer, and I have a few slides for you down the road to cover as well. One of those is right there. I'm advertising now another choice for you. If we get to that slide, I'll talk then how the AI instruments this type of choice. But hey, that's your democracy now. You get a chance to vote again for the next topic. Do it again, whatever that's the...
Kahoot.
Kahoot,
So
yes.
if everybody can go back to Kahoot, please. So we have a new game pin.
Fast.
It's the number up there, 750022. Please ping that in. There we go. Naughty nicknames beware.
All right. Well, the online economy should have gone by now.
That's the Irish economy. So which one did we just do? We just did the traditional media, so that's right.
Oh, no, sorry, yes.
Yes,
okay,
that's
yes.
right, yep. So you've 15 seconds to vote for which topic you'd like to hear Constantin cover. Do-do, do-do, do-do-do-do. Bum. All right.
Oh,
Data.
yeah, I sold it well.
Yeah.
That's what in behavioral finance we call the framed choice, yes? I anchored you to it. Excellent, it works. Look, I didn't have to even move from to the different slide. So, okay, let's talk about this whole idea of the artificial intelligence as the next thing that is happening right now. But I want to start with something that we're already doing right now, data and data analytics, and talk about that because the way we think about AI right now is effectively an extension of the world that data analytics and big data exist in. However, to me, it's not artificial intelligence, which is superficial intelligence. It's actually big data intelligence, which is superficial intelligence. Now, that should be a bit provocative for you. So let's start with analytics value curve. So what is the value added in today's analytics? Well, it's fairly high, yes? Why it is high? Because when you talk about the mass market and quasi-commoditized products, which are customizable after the production of the product, so in other words, you add separate panels onto the car, and you change the interior of the car, and you may give the consumer a choice of a color of the car. Well, hell, you know, that's a commoditized space. To design the car, to deliver the car, to sell the car, you really need a mass marketing approach. Your error is big not at the stage of selling the car. Your error is big at building the car. So a car company today, and that can be an analogy for anything, for a book writing as well, for that matter, starts with an idea how big the market is. If you made a mistake there and you assume that the market is in tens of millions globally, but it turns out that the market is really in tens of thousands, you end up with Yugo. Nobody wants to buy your car, no matter how brilliant it is. Not that Yugo was a brilliant car. Perhaps it was. A lot of people pay now a lot of money for them as nostalgia tool. So the high value added of analytics only occurs in a space where things are more commoditized, more standardized. There's also high informational potential in terms of the design and development. Yes, from big data, we get the idea of what mass consumers want in a kind of fuzzy way. We know generally that they want the car to have 4 wheels. We know that generally they want to have it look sporty and at the same time have all-wheel drive. We generally know that they want it to be ecologically sound in whatever way it is, reduce social risks, the ESG risks and all that stuff and all, and that makes the car appealing. But we have no idea what really consumers mean by it. So we guess. We guess through the, again, testing of the consumers, through going through the stages of product development and design. This is a process which is very long and loaded with risks. So the companies today are vertically structured in a way to minimize that risk. The designer, junior designer sketches an idea. That risk of that idea is assessed by the manager or by the senior designer. The senior designer eliminates those ideas which seem to be riskier. And on it goes all the way to CEO, and then the board makes a decision. This line of cars is what we're going to produce next. The problem is that if the company makes a mistake, it goes bust. Think Tesla today. Suppose Tesla makes a mistake in terms of the Model 3 design, delivery, and the structure. It is raising right now an inordinate amount of resources in order to produce it. The first cars are going to start rolling probably 2017. It's going to hit the really testable market, not the market of the early converts who will buy Tesla no matter what they produce. Even if it is a box, from the tomatoes on 4 wheels, they will buy it, okay? But the real test is going to happen in 2018, by which time there's a whole factory built of that stuff. The whole purchase and order structure is built on and all. If Tesla makes a mistake, it's bust at that stage, yes? That's the process of big data value added, is reducing that risk in a vertical structure of the company, bridging the gap to the market in a way. The problem is that as the market itself and the gaps no longer are singular, and they become more and more complex and more partitioned. In other words, we are more and more confused about exactly what do we want for a sporty car with 4-wheel drive. The cost of using big data and analytics is rising relative to the productivity that they generate for us and insight and ability to manage risks and things like that. So there is a margin challenge. Rising cost without rising revenue, without being able to price that Model 3 to the market, to each individual consumer's willingness to pay, what we in economics call price discrimination, means that we're still trading in a commoditized world with a more and more partitioned type of consumer. That's a very big problem. That means that the systems of our thinking, of our planning, of our design, and everything else become less and less stable. There's more and more risk in them built in. Degree of complexity also of extracting data becomes more and higher and higher. Not only it becomes higher and higher and higher in terms of us actually taking different channels of data and feeding them into the same models, which is a big problem, which I'll mention in a second anyways, but they also become higher and higher and higher because that exposes our IT systems to the hacks, to the penetration from outside. It creates the vulnerabilities in our models as well. Now, as a result of that, for example, I'll give you very quick, I'll take some time off that counter there to tell you this. I have a very interesting research that I'm doing with a co-author right now. It's academic research, which for the first time identifies hacking events against the PLCs in the United States as being systemic to the United States financial system, financial markets, and also to global financial markets. Stock markets are now experiencing waves of volatility triggered by hacking events against the listed companies. The first time we register that, the first time we see that in the data, happens in the mid-2014. Since then, every hack against listed company has resulted in a systemic contagion within the system. As system becomes more complex, it becomes more vulnerable. That's classic risk management stuff. We're experiencing that in terms of data analytics, also interacting with that as well. Reputational costs of these losses, in other words, the cost of a hack itself, is rising also exponentially. In 2005, the average hack on a listed company resulted in about 1.3%, 1.34% to be more exact, loss in terms of the share prices over the 10 days following the hack disclosure. Today, it's about 15.5% loss. That's the magnitude in 10 years' time. This is a very significant challenge to the margins amongst the companies, a very significant challenge and risk to their business models. But we have a eureka moment. First eureka moment is to understand that all of this is arising because we use ad hoc analytics all of the time. We're data mining We are not doing models-based analysis. There is no theory or intuition behind a lot of big data models. We have to go back to the classrooms, to people like myself, to learn the basics of econometrics, basics of analysis, which is based first on an idea, how things should look like, how to structure the model, not just simply brutally pushing it through the quite complicated, technically, but dumb socially and theoretically analytical models. But by the time we're going to do that, it's going to be probably irrelevant. Don't bank that. I can see it's coming up. Analytics will fade into data-driven demand models because, again, thank you. That's much gentler. And of course, as a result of it, I'll ignore it for longer. Analytics will fade into the data-driven models because, as I said before, as I said earlier, atomization of production, atomization of demand means that you're not going to be running big data models anymore. You're going to be creating the models and you will be creating the platforms for data flows, which will be there only to enable me as a consumer to design the car I want, to get the Model 3G for Gurdgiev, not for somebody else, but for me. Supply side will fade into the robotics. That's what will enable that. The robotics together with 3D and 4D printing and whatever technologies on production side emerging beyond that. I mean, you've heard of 4D probably by now. There are other technologies which are emerging, which are combining more and more my ability to interact with them to produce the particular good to fit myself. AI-based design, which is an intuitive design, in which I no longer have to know the specific software, in which I can design as a game the products and goods and services that I want. I give you an example. I had to solve a problem of how to get cups for my home, tumblers to drink water for my new home in California. So I had a choice of going down to the store and ordering, or buying the particular glasses and all. But it so happened that I was passing by an art exhibition by students in a community college. And I had a beautiful pottery shop where they were actually showcasing their students' designs. So my next step when I get back to my California home in August is to call a particular student of whose number I have and ask her to make for me those tumblers. The cost of making that is comparable to the store. Now, that's a physical example. There is no technology, there is no software platforms, there is nothing there. But the software platforms will make that process much quicker and much easier for me to execute in the future. What else is there? Humans will remain.
On to the next one.
Okay, let's skip there. Okay, let me very quickly, let me go through that. Humans will remain because of one thing. In production, in the economies, we have the problem of technology being both complement and substitute. Some people will be pushed out. We're seeing now as a solution to people being pushed out of their jobs, the idea of the universal basic income. You've heard about that, keep that in mind, because the tech sector right now, especially in California, is pushing hard for that introduction. But crucially, why humans will remain is because no technology will replace the idea of humans being aided by other humans. The most scary idea that you can find about the AI is not AI taking over the world, AI taking over our care for our relatives when they're sick. That's the scariest thing about that. So because humans will remain, we're going to have smarter systems which simultaneously at the same time control for the basic risk of complex and smart systems, that they generate the dumbest mistakes of all possible. And that means that we're going to have the strategies which are focusing on tail events much more, and also beyond that, going beyond tail events and dealing with non-probabilistic uncertainty. In other words, things that might happen, but we have no clue how to price them and how to attach probability to them, how likely they're going to be. Anyways, I'll finish there.
Great.
Oh dear.
Thanks,
I mean, I've gone
Constantin.
grossly over the limit there. All right, so we have another third topic. Yes,
We have a third one, but we'll have to make this one 5 minutes, please, Keith. There is a
Okay.
football match this evening.
There is.
So, please
Go
whip out
vote
your,
again.
whip out your Kahoot again. Game pin this time is 5-1-1. I can see you all pounding away. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So you've 30 seconds to cast your vote.
I wouldn't be voting for online economy if I were you. I talked about quite a bit of it already. But then again, or maybe I would, given the alternatives.
All right. Oh,
dear.
my God.
Okay, here, let's make a happy medium. You jack it up to 7 minutes, and I'll cover both of them under the Irish economy.
I'll give you 6. We'll give him 6, Keith.
Back it, all right, okay. Darn. You know I will ignore that minute anyways, you know, so what's the point? Okay, let's go to the Irish economy, and I'll start from there, okay? And I'll talk about export opportunities. Okay. So, as I said before, the key here is that we have a combination of the old economy dragging us back. That's the ghosts of the crisis. And there is drivers for the recovery as well in the economy. I'm pretty positive about the Irish economy right now. That would be a surprise to a lot of you, because I've been always a contrarian, and I'm a contrarian right now as well, because I'm not positive about the Irish economy for all the reasons that are being told to us by the IDA and by, you know, the Department of Finance. But I'm positive about the Irish economy because of its longer-term potential. So, view from the top of the Irish economy. Recovery is shifting. It is shifting towards domestic economy and domestic sectors. Investment is up, but it is very weakly up. And this is a point of concern for me, because I'd like to see the CapEx, the capital expenditure by the companies in Ireland, rising well into the double digits. It's not really happening right now yet, but we might see that happening this year and starting to happen definitely next year as well. Retail sales are fairly encouraging. Why? The rates of growth are not huge. That means that the rates of growth are fairly robust, and they're going to be sustained over a period of time. It's not a jump up, collapse down. Very interestingly is that the rates of growth are similar to 2015, both in value and in volume. The only really hiccup is that the value of sales continues to grow slower than the volume of sales. So in other words, in the private economy sector, there's still deflation. We saw that yesterday in terms of the CSO figures. Out of all inflating sectors, there were 5 inflating subsectors in the Irish economy. 3 was state-controlled prices. So that's a bit of a problem there, because that means that the retailers' margins are continuing to be pressured, and they will stay pressured for a long period of time. But the good news is deflation sustains demand. So in other words, the consumers are not going to go on strike. Construction is picking up. It's picking up off extremely low levels. Again, yesterday's figures for the building construction for the first quarter this year, the rise in terms of the in Ireland has been 13.6%, very significant rise in terms of the volume of construction. However, the levels are so low that we're still at 1/3 of pre-crisis peak levels in terms of construction. So it's rising. There is no hype, there is no bubble yet, construction-wise and all. Drivers for growth in Ireland today, the main driver, the biggest driver is the ECB monetary policy and the euro valuations. FDI and tax optimization are fueling the economy that we account for, but we really don't care that much about. Domestic demand, ex-investment funds. Why separating investment funds? Because they go into this idea of foreign direct investment and foreign investment as well, because these are primarily vulture funds. They generate accounting activity in terms of growth, but not really building anything new. Domestic demand is up, and it's the 3rd largest factor. And finally, the 4th largest factor is reduced public sector drag. In other words, the contraction in public sector is over. It's not growing rapidly yet. It's not contributing positively to growth necessarily significantly, but it is at least not destroying growth as such. So recovery-related risks, therefore, are the cost risks in terms of property prices and rents, very significant cost risk for us because our economy is gearing more and more towards human capital intensive economy. It means that we have to bring and retain in the country the brightest young people. And the problem there, of course, is that rents and property prices are prohibitive to it. Lack of business capex is another problem. There is no capex right now, primarily because of the crisis-related legacy, and the banking sector is still not functioning. And that is a big problem because that leads to underinvestment by companies. Labor markets are becoming compressed as well. There's a whole bunch of other smaller factors, and therefore the economy in general can be divided in 2 halves. There is a significant potential growth and happening growth in domestic economy, and a lot of froth in terms of the accounting. However, Ireland is an open economy, and it faces right now the global growth slowdown. World economy is certainly on a slower growth path in terms of the trend growth. 3.1, 3.2% average growth expectations for 2016-2017 for the global economy, well below historical averages, certainly well below, a lot well below, about half of the rate of growth that we should expect for the previous episodes of the recoveries, economic recoveries. Irish growth trend is different. Irish domestic consumption, domestic demand, which is investment consumption and government expenditure, is expected to grow at 4.7, 4.8% in 2016, faster than the global growth. So we are apparently decoupling. However, that is a slowdown in the last year by about 1/2. It expanded by over 9% last year. So we are having moderation in the economy, which is good. Why is it good? Because it is consistent with an idea that the bounce back from the lows, the cyclical bounce back, is over. And we are going towards the sustainable high levels of growth in the organic activity in the economy itself. So, is it domestic all? No, it's not. There are external drivers, which I mentioned before, to add to them as well, the longer-term driver in terms of the changes in the expected tax treatment by the multinationals. They are changing what they book into the country, and that impacts the GDP as well, and GNP in the economy. Internal drivers is the idea of the bouncing back from extreme losses in the economy. As I mentioned before, construction still is about 1/3 of the activity of what it was at the boom time. And internal drivers to the organic economy growth to the upside as well. That last bit is a very good one. There are big legacies of the crisis, and I'm not going to go through them, but basically they relate to the banking and finance. Let's not beat on the banks here. That is not entirely their own fault today. A lot of that is something that they've created before the bust, but a lot of it is also something that the regulators are creating as a pressure on them. However, the idea is that the household credit is not expanding. And that's a serious problem for the retailers. It's a serious problem for anyone producing for the domestic market in terms of goods and services. Credit to resident SMEs, the only credit that actually matters in this economy really, once you strip out the financial intermediation and the property sector, is actually down still year on year. And the new lending for the SMEs has been negligible. Last year, growth in the new land and new loans written for the SMEs without the replacement of the old loans is just 245 million. That's not enough. There's a problem with that. Consumer credit, lack of consumer credit creates significant pressures on demand and investment in the economy by the households. Pensions and savings are under pressure due to the negative interest rate policies around the world. So in other words, we are neither generating significant savings and returns on savings, nor generating investment in the economy on the household side. In terms of the companies and financial system, there is a severe risk mispricing in the system. Ireland not unique here. The rest of the world is true as well, the same. But Ireland is at the very front edge of that because we are reliant in terms of the financial system on the global financial flows very significantly. Lack of credit from the enterprise point of view creates a bottleneck in terms of the potential growth and productivity in the future. There's a huge productivity crisis in labor productivity and total factor productivity around the world right now. In other words, it's not growing fast enough. In the likes of the United Kingdom, it has been flat. In Italy, it has been flat. In the United States, it's been historically at less than 1/2 of its historical levels. So that's a major problem everywhere, and in Ireland in particular. I'd like to see our SMEs growing. However, there is a growth positive dimensions to Ireland. Now, these are longer-term themes. These are the themes which are still present here. We tend to be early risers in terms of not just technology adoption, but also ideas adoption, commercialization of ideas and putting ideas into the market. We're not necessarily great at generating ideas ourselves. We're not great at R&D part of the curve of innovation, but we're good at adopting and putting it into the market. And that is a very strong component for us because there are a lot of economies out there and a lot of companies out there around the world which are generating lab innovation, but there isn't enough salespeople around the world. If we can act or continue acting as a conduit for being salespeople, and that's the exporting opportunity for us, if Ireland can continue developing as an exporting platform for the global markets, we're going to capitalize on our biggest asset that we have.
Just over the 7 minutes there, Constantin.
Yes, I have a lot to say. During the questions, if you want to ask, I think there's a very interesting thing going on right now between those generations, okay? Now, Generation Z is the new generation. They are not yet directly consuming. They're consuming out of mom and pop's pockets right now. And Generation Jinx is your generation predominantly. And then there are millennials, which is, and then there are gizzards like me.
That's
Anyways,
brilliant.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Constantin. Lots and lots of brilliant, so deep, there's so much there. That'll work beautifully to tee up quite a few of the talks you're going to hear as we go on. So brilliant stuff. Don't forget, you can ask Constantin questions on the hashtag. We'll manage time very, very judiciously at the Q&A. So you simply tweet Wolfgang Essentials, hashtag Wolfgang Essentials, hashtag Q&A. We're actually already trending on Twitter in Dublin, and we're only getting started. So keep tweeting, and we might trend in Ireland before we know it. So I'm going to talk about my topic now. This is a really exciting topic. It's going to kind of sits under all the other talks you're going to hear today. For me, it's a really exciting innovation. It's on the topic of integration, and it's probably the most exciting innovation I've seen on that topic in my time as a digital marketer. Of the 8 awards we've won this year, 7 of them, this was the center point, okay? So I'm going to share it with you now. So to tell you the story of the Cross-Channel Gospel Choir, I have to go back to Seattle. The story starts in Seattle. Myself and Brendan had the pleasure of going to MozCon. Brilliant conference. I'd highly recommend it if you get a chance to go. It's super. Lots of great speakers there. One of the many speakers who blew my mind there was this gentleman, Marty Weintraub. Marty's half digital prophet, half raving mad lunatic. He's absolutely brilliant. I've had a go trying to make him wink here. Does that work? So Marty made a statement. Marty made many statements, and one of Marty's statements that set my mind on fire was this, that audiences are valuable brand assets. There's 2 reasons I got very excited about this statement. First, because one of the things that troubles me about paid search marketing is the ephemerality of it. Like you pay for you spend the money, get the clicks, stop spending the money, traffic goes away. Whereas if in doing this we were developing some sort of an asset that we could continue to market to after, well, that'd be really exciting. Second reason I got really excited about this was the huge announcement that Google had made literally 2 weeks before. On June the 25th, 2015, Google made a massive announcement that for me will change how we all digital market from this point in. They announced it, as they do, by way of a blog post on the Google Analytics blog. No confetti or streamers or anything. And essentially they were saying we could now create audiences in analytics and use them in AdWords. Okay? So what that means is you can take any metric or dimension you have in Google Analytics and capture those people as an audience and create specific campaigns for them. So you could take all the people who didn't bounce, all the people who went to more than 5 pages, all the people who came from this specific Facebook traffic campaign and create specific campaigns from them. So there's more than 200 dimensions and metrics you can use this for. So initially when I saw this, we were paralyzed by the paradox of choice, you know, and we knew we were going to have a couple of hacks at this before we really found where the value was. So what I did is I did what I always do when faced with a digital marketing problem, and I go back to the purchase funnel. And I started thinking about it from this context as how we could use audiences and that would guide people through the purchase funnel from awareness, interest, action, to loyalty and beyond. So this is one of the early case studies we have from it. So I'm going to show you how we took people from Facebook to YouTube to search, awareness, interest, action. So this is a Facebook ad, autumn-winter dresses collection, targeting relevant people on Facebook. People who clicked on that ad and came to the website, now we have them. Okay? They're in our audience. They're in our Facebook autumn-winter audience. We could call it our awareness audience. We've created specific campaigns for these people, so now when they go to YouTube, they're getting a really nice brand-rich video relevant to that collection that they've already showed an interest in. And then we make sure that if they go to Google and search anything relevant to our product or our client's website, we're there in front of them. We're bidding very aggressively. And as you can see here, we're actually referencing the previous interactions in the ad text. And we found this really helps. So once this went live, we were really excited by it. Then the metrics started coming in, and you could hear jaws hitting keyboards all around the office. The metrics were phenomenal. So I'm going to talk to you about return on ad spend. It's one of our favorite metrics. It simply tells us for every euro I spent on advertising, I got this much in revenue. So Facebook got a return on ad spend of 1-to-1. And this is kind of typical, like Facebook, so many strengths, you know, the targeting is phenomenal. There's huge volumes of traffic available there because of its reach. Really good value cost per clicks, but by and large, doesn't convert great. Now, we're going to show you some innovations around that, but by and large, doesn't really convert. So this is typical Facebook return on ad spend. We're making revenue, but we're not making profit. However, when we served the same audience, the YouTube ad, we now had a return on ad spend of 11 to 1. And then, when we captured that person with a third interaction on search, we now had a phenomenal return on ad spend of 51 to 1. So you can see how the campaign gets more profitable with each touch point that's created for that audience. So we were delighted. We gone from awareness, interest, action. We've now won a customer. What do we want to do next? Well, let's try and create an audience that will turn this once-off customer into a repeat customer. So here's how we did it. These people are now, once they've bought, they're now out of our Facebook awareness audience, and they're now in our customers' audience. And they can go to, if this person goes to Google and does a generic search, like a lot of you, the search marketers in the room will know, you're not going to be going after keywords like that very aggressively. Like that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But if this person has already bought from us and they're searching that, well, now all of a sudden, you better believe we're in position 1. And once again, we're referencing the previous interactions in the ad text. So we've tested this, and this gives it a nice lift to your click-through rate. Just to give you an idea what the results look like. So these are the metrics this is our shopping audience. These are people who are customers' audience. These are non-customers. Cost per conversion is 1/3 for people who've already bought from us. Conversion rate is 4 times as high for people who've already bought from it. That's return on ad spend, and that's also 4 times as high. So this arms you as digital marketers to really add a number of layers to your marketing. So first of all, if you're working with a small budget in a big market, this allows you to aim that budget. Well, let's spend all that money getting in front of our existing customers. Other things it allows you to do, for example, is you could set different KPIs. You could say, okay, well, our cost, we can tolerate a much higher cost per acquisition for someone who hasn't bought from us before because we're aware we're going to get a lot of cheaper conversions as we go. So there's lots of different ways you can look at this. So we didn't want to finish there. Now, we said, well, now that we've got them to be loyal customers, can we turn them into marketing assets for our brand and get them to get their friends buying as well? So with our customer audience, we targeted them on Facebook with an ad like this, encouraging them to get their friends to come and buy, and you both get some money off. So once they clicked on that, they've now moved from our customers' audience. They're now in our advocates' audience. And we've got special campaigns for them. So now if somebody in the advocates' audience goes to Google and searches Amy Child's clothing, we're saying, yes, you can buy them here, and we're also reminding them to get their friend to buy and get 20 quid off as well. So you can see we brought someone right through the funnel, and now they're bringing their friends into the funnel, and the cycle repeats. So what I love about this is it's just an extra layer to a lot of the stuff you're already doing already that can really turbocharge your results. So you've already got Google, Facebook, Twitter, your newsletter all firing, but at the moment they're kind of separate statements, like they're all off on a solo run or they're singing a solo. However, with this strategy, with this audience's strategy, they all come together with one powerful voice and, and sing in unison. So, yeah. Oh, Jesus. There we go, yeah. So you get the idea anyway. They're all working in unison together. So, just like I left MozCon with my mind on fire thinking about Marshy's statement about audiences being valuable brand assets, I hope for some of you guys, you leave here today thinking about how you can create carefully crafted cross-channel conversations. So just before I finish up, one of my favourite times of the week is every Friday between 11 and 1. I have that boxed off in my calendar, and it's unscheduled time. I'll just go to a cafe somewhere nearby, and I'll just take some time to consider, the digital marketing we're doing, what's going well, what's not, think a little bit more deeply about it, do some research on it, and I find it's a really valuable time. So after coming back from MozCon, I was considering this, I was really excited about this audiences thing and the valuable brand assets, but I had a problem with it and I just couldn't get beyond it. And it was that an audience or an asset for me is something you can capitalize on over, months, years, decades. The technology underpinning these audiences in Google Analytics was cookies. And you all know that cookies are a bit of a flaky technology. We can clear our cookies. If I go from my laptop to my iPhone, I'm no longer in the audience. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, what would be a more long-term, more robust technology? And I figured that just like Facebook allows us to upload email addresses and Twitter allows us to upload email addresses and target those, wouldn't it be really cool if Google would allow us to do the same? And then I think the heavenly voices sang again, and very shortly after that, Google announced Customer Match. Okay, remember this, Customer Match. Is anybody using Customer Match at the minute? Okay, okay, couple of hands going up. This time next year, if we were running this event now, every hand will go up and you'll all be raving about it. So Customer Match allows you to upload email addresses to your Google Analytics and then create audiences based on those and create specific ads on specific platforms for those people. So Brendan, in the next talk, actually, Brendan's going to talk to you about, a bit more in depth about ways you can use Customer Match. So that's everything I have to say on the cross-channel gospel choir. Hope it was useful to you. And the next talk I'm going to introduce, we're going to talk about Adwords. Brendan and Rob are going to take this one. Just to tee it up and to give it a bit of context, we're going to do a quick Ask the Audience. So everybody get ready. We're not going to do Kahoot this time. We'll do hands in the air, good old-fashioned hands in the air. I'm going to give you three options. I'm going to ask you what percentage of global ad spend did Google own in 2015? Okay, so not online ad spend, online, offline ad spend all over planet Earth. I'm going to give 3 options. Option 1 is 0 to 6%. Option 2 is 6 to 12, and option 3 is greater than 12%. So hands up if you think it's 0 to 6%. Yeah, hands up who thinks it's 6 to 12. Hands up, yeah. Hands up who thinks greater than 12%. Yeah, 14%. Phenomenal. We all work in an industry that's centuries old, and these teenagers have come along and they're dominating. It's incredible. And it's no surprise that this year Google has now passed Apple as the world's most valuable company. So Brendan and Rob are going to talk to you about how you can stay ahead of the pack on Wolfgang, and their title of their talk is Essential AdWords Updates. Please give them a round of applause and welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Alan. Hi, everyone. So over the next 15 minutes, myself and Rob are going to share some of the most essential AdWords updates. And I'm going to start with something that had the paid search community in a frenzy at the start of the year. And that was the removal of the right-hand side ads and the addition of a 4th ad on desktop. So Google's rationale for doing this was to bring about a user consistency across devices. And that's something you'll hear a lot more from Google. This is a blending of the search results. So what they want is they want the user to have a similar experience on a mobile device, to a tablet device, to a desktop device. And people got really excited about this. But let's have a look and see what the impact was. And our very own David crunched the numbers. And what he found is that typically we were getting a slightly improved CTR from position 3 to 4. And they were actually getting slightly cheaper CPCs at position 4. And that worked out pretty good for some of you guys because for some of our clients, a lower ad position is the optimal position. So it meant we could get cheaper clicks and more traffic for that budget. So although there was a lot of noise made about this, it didn't actually have that big of an impact. Which is ironic because back in August 2015, something absolutely significant happened. And that's when we moved from 2 ads on the top of a mobile device to 3 ads on top of a mobile device. And this is weird. Nobody was really talking about this, and Google didn't formally mention this either, but we could absolutely see it from within our performance metrics. And the first thing we noticed was that mobile ad click-through rate was going up, and we were also getting more mobile traffic, and that meant that we were spending more on mobile. So you'll see in this graph, the end of July, just beginning of August, mobile clicks go up and mobile spend only goes up as well. So why is that a big deal, or why is it so important? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first one is that mobile performance is now dictating overall AdWords account performance. And that means that when we're optimizing your accounts, we need to be thinking mobile first. We need a mobile first optimization strategy. And really importantly, it means we need to think a little harder about the mobile impact on conversion rate. Because you guys probably know that mobile user experience hasn't really caught up with mobile usage. And we'll often find that mobile conversion rates are a little bit lower than desktop conversion rates. And if you're working to a CPA, that can be a bit of a challenge. And then beyond that, we have to think about how mobile conversion rate contributes to overall conversion rate. Because somebody might go on your website from a mobile device, they might click on your ad on a mobile device, but then they might convert on a different device. So we call that cross-device conversions. And if that's happening, we need to think a little bit harder about how we treat mobile conversion rates. And then lastly, life gets even tougher if you're in SEO, because with a 4th ad on top, the organic results gets pushed further down the fold. But all isn't lost, and our amazing SEO team will share some tricks they have with you in the next few talks. So with all this mobile traffic out there, Google are also helping us capture more of that mobile traffic. And this is a great example. This is a very recent beta that we got some clients whitelisted for. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to extend our ad text. Okay? So Google recognized, particularly on mobile, that the ad text was quite limited. So what they've done is they've allowed us to test extending those character limits in the headline and also in the description lines. And this is interesting because the insight from Google came from mobile on this, but they've rolled it out across all devices, which shows again that they're really moving towards blended search results. It's really early days on this. The top ad is the one where we have the extended beta on, so it's a bigger ad. And you guys know that anytime we can make an ad bigger, we should get more clicks. And that's exactly what happens. Already, really early results, we're seeing an uplift of about 10% in ad click-through rate. And so if it keeps going in that trajectory, we're pretty confident this will get rolled out across accounts in the coming months. Famous last words, though. So let's stay on mobile. I want to talk about something called call-only campaigns. So call-only campaigns, irrespective of where the user clicks on the ad, they're directed to call you, okay? So these aren't to be confused with something called click-to-call. You guys might know click-to-call. With click-to-call, the user is prompted to either click through to your website or they're given the option to call you by clicking on the click to call icon. With call-only campaigns, they have to call you no matter where they actually click. So we got really excited. We got really excited about call-only campaigns because we thought this is brilliant. Particularly for our clients that do a lot of business over the phone. This is going to result in 100% conversion rate because anyone who clicks on that button is going to call you. We got super excited, but we decided to test it because we're the digital marketing scientists, and our very own Beth carried out this test using another Google innovation called Google forwarding numbers. So she was actually able to track and measure the calls of call-only campaigns. What she found was that it wasn't 100% conversion rate. It was actually 4. So a little bit lower than 100%. But not the end of the world, though, because if you think about a good lead generation conversion rates between about 3 to 5%, so that's not all that bad. But the great news was, within the same test, Beth also measured the conversion rate of click to call. And what we found is that 80 to 90% of people who click to call proceeded to make that call. This is a really important learning because what we understood here is that people want the option. Some people want to come through to your website, but if they do click in the click to call, they will proceed to make that call. Where call-only campaigns work particularly well is where there's call intent within the search query. So if somebody has a search and they use the word call or phone within that search term, that's when call-only campaigns perform particularly well. So let's leave mobile behind and we'll move on to native Gmail ads. So native Gmail ads, or GSPs, you might have heard us talk about them before. They were in beta for a long time and they were rolled out on accounts towards the end of last year. They appear as a collapsed ad format here, and then the user can click on them and they expand out into a much richer ad format. So this is an example from the Marca Hotel. You can see you can get some great information within the ad text. Particularly useful if you work in the travel industry where you can have pictures of the bar or the room or the restaurant, etc. But what we really like about native Gmail ads is our ability to target particular keywords. Because within native Gmail ads, we can target keywords. And if we target your competitors' keywords, what we're actually doing is we're putting an email into your competitor's customer's inbox. So have a think about that. Your competitors are out there busting their balls to build their email newsletter subscriber list. And meanwhile, you can use this sneaky backdoor tactic to get on front of the same customers. And there's some great refinements to targeting within native Gmail ads, including refinements by income level. So this exists if you're targeting the US. So the Marca Hotel, for example, do a lot of business from people in the United States. But they're a luxury hotel, so they don't just want any American showing up, they just want the rich Americans. So they can refine their targeting by income level to make sure they're just targeting Americans who are coming to Ireland and who have a lot of money. A really great new advancement in native Gmail ads is our ability to capture leads directly from the Gmail ad. So we've just trying to get this up and running with Plan Ireland. We're really excited about it. What we're hoping here is that by removing the number of clicks between somebody seeing the ad and converting, we're going to get a big boost in conversion rate. So we'll keep you posted as soon as we get any results on this. So I'm going to finish up with something that Alan mentioned earlier on, which is probably the biggest innovation that's happened in Google AdWords in a long time, which is Customer Match. So with Customer Match, what we can do is we can upload an email list to Google AdWords and target those people on the search network. So some of you will be familiar with something called custom audiences on Facebook. So that exact same thing now exists on search. But like every great Google innovation, it sometimes takes us a few iterations to work out the best way to roll it out across your accounts. Let me just show you what I mean with an example. So here's a campaign from a particular client. This is one of the best performing campaigns within this account. So we thought we'll take the best performing campaign within the account and we'll overlay a customer match email list. And we should get even better incremental performance improvements. So keep your eye on these metrics here. Click conversion rate and conversion value per cost, or ROAS. So we overlaid our list, and things don't look that good. We got a slight bump in conversion rates. We went from 0.7 to 0.95, and we actually went backwards with ROAS. So ROAS reduced. So that's a little bit of a worry, because we took the best campaign, and we took one of the best innovations and combined them, and things don't look that great. So we had to think about it, and we decided that all our client had done was send us a very large email database. So we went back to them and asked them to carry out some segmentation at their end and send us a refined list that really represented their customers, or even better, represented their top customers. And fair play to them, that's what they did, and they came back with a list that they called the Platinum list. And look at the performance improvements we got here. So we got a quadrupling of conversion rate and almost a quadrupling of ROAS. So this is a really important takeaway for us, because what we found is that where we can make customer match work is where our client helps us carry out segmentation at their end, and then we get the targeting right. And that's where customer match is going to be one of the most important innovations. And I'm pretty confident that we'll be talking about some great results for all you and customer match this time next year. Okay, that's it for me. I'm delighted to welcome Rob up on stage, who's going to talk to us about AdWords scripts.
Thanks, Brendan. So I'm going to talk to you about some AdWords automation we've been using, and in particular, AdWords scripts. So the first question you might ask is, what are AdWords scripts? Essentially, they're little pieces of JavaScript code that we can write to access the Google API, access third-party tools to allow us to overcome some external problems that we've been facing for a couple of our clients. So I'm going to take you through 3 examples. The second question, before I get into the examples, though, is why would we use them? And there's 3 main reasons for this. The first one being the most obvious, but also the most important, is they help us to improve performance. It seems really simple, but everything we do is trying to improve performance. So if it's not going to improve performance, what's the point in doing it? The second one is that it helps us to mitigate external factors that affect AdWords performance. So things that are outside of our control, but that are still having an impact on the performance of our AdWords campaigns. It's a really important one as well. And the third reason that we've been using them is to create compelling ad messages, to help to boost our click-through rate, boost our quality score, and improve performance that way. So as I mentioned, there's 3 examples I'm going to take you through of problems that we've been facing. So the first one is the weather. And in a country like Ireland, where the weather's changing all the time, every hour of every day, it's a really big one. And anyone who's seen our infographic about the heat wave back in 2013 will know the kind of impact it can have on the performance of your accounts. The second one is all to do with stock levels, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit more later. And the last one is currency exchange rate. So it's for retailers mainly who are selling into various different countries and different currencies as well. So the first one is our weather script. So as I mentioned, like, weather changes a lot in Ireland, and for this particular client, we wanted to promote sunglasses. And we know no one's going to be buying sunglasses when it's raining out. So we wrote a bit of code that was able to hook up to a weather API. And essentially, any time that the sun was out, we wanted to show an ad. We wanted to show it with a really compelling ad text. You can see here, our ad text kind of jumps off the page there. It's a scorcher of a day. All the other ad texts that are there are really, really generic. So we saw really great performance from that ad text. And it was cool as well that we were able to use real-time live data from this weather API to control these ads. When it was sunny, or sorry, when it was cloudy or when it was rainy, these ads were turned off. The out-of-stock script is one that it's a problem that we face for a lot of retailers, where you could have the best AdWords account in the world, but if someone's searching for a specific product, they're shown a really good ad, they're brought to the correct landing page, but if they get there and the product's out of stock, they're just going to get pissed off, they're going to leave, and they're not going to come back. So we wrote a script which basically it pulled from the website, it looked on every page of the website for instances of the words out of stock. And if it found it on a particular product, we were then able to pause that ad group. And we didn't want to be bidding, we didn't want to get any clicks and spend money on any clicks if that product's out of stock. And when that product came back into stock, we could automatically start that ad group up again. So when we implemented this on one of our client accounts, we saw assisted revenue. So this is revenue that came after someone's first click to the website came through AdWords, and they later came back via maybe a brand keyword or another channel. And this assisted revenue was actually up 500%. So you can see the benefit there. It's pretty clear. The third example I'm going to show you, as I mentioned, is all about currency exchange rates. And we all know that over the last couple of years, the euro hasn't been doing so well against the sterling, for example. We have one client who was able to actually guarantee a really strong exchange rate on the sterling. They're selling into the UK, and they had a really strong exchange rate guarantee. So what we were able to do was create an ad that pulled real-time, again, ran once a day, pulled real data from this exchange rate API, and depending on what the bank's rate was, if the guaranteed rate that we were offering was better than the rate that the banks were offering, we could put this in automatically and say, today's rate, the bank's rate is £1 to 1.36. We're offering you £1 to 1.40. Come and save money and buy with us. It was really compelling again. And when we implemented this onto these campaigns, we saw conversion rate double straight away. So those are the three main ways we've been using scripts so far. We're excited to try out new ways. So now I'm just going to take you through kind of key takeaways from myself and Brendan. So if you remember nothing else, just remember these 5 things. So the first one is to be thinking mobile first. Google are thinking mobile first, and everyone else should be too. Make sure to use call-only campaigns for keywords that have call intent, and if they don't have call intent, give them the option with click-to-call extensions. Target your competitors' keywords and therefore your competitors' customers using native Gmail ads. Segment your email lists and get them as segmented as possible so you can improve your targeting and really create really compelling ad messages. And then start thinking about Adwords scripts and how they can help you solve real business problems. So I'm going to pass you back to Al now. Thanks a million for listening.
Thanks very much, guys. So up next, Roisin, our head of social, is going to talk to you about Facebook. Just to give this one a little bit of context, some figures came out recently that we watched like a hawk. IAB came out with their ad spend figures for Ireland. So it's really interesting to see how the market's going, where people are investing their money. And it looked like this. A lot of the same old stories remained, like search was still dominating. Once again, it was the year for mobile. The thing that spiked my curiosity was the growth of display. And according to the IAB, the display was growing at the same pace as search. And just from a lot of the figures we were seeing, that didn't really add up. So we decided to deep dive into the data. And what we found was they'd taken social and classified it as display, and they'd taken native advertising and classified them as display. So we thought about that for a minute, and in Wolfgang we kind of felt, well, we think they're different. So just ask the question. I'll ask the question to you guys. Put your hands up if you believe that social and native should have their own categories, and don't put your hand up if you think they should be bundled in with display. So if you think they should have their own categories, put your hand up now. Okay, so that's pretty resounding. So that was my instinct as well. Glad to see that's, delighted we're all in agreement there. So I went to seek some definitions. So I went to the IAB's website and thought, well, what is your definition of native advertising? And the key thing at the center of it was it's cohesive with page content. And that's the antithesis of a display ad for me, because they tend to be peripheral. And if anything, they're like the old model of interruption-based advertising rather than interaction-based. So for native, it didn't seem to fit. With social, you could say there are display ads in social media. There are these ones down here. But really, we all know it's all about the newsfeed ads. Like you get 50 clicks over there for every one you get there. And sometimes when I go, the rare occasion, I go on Facebook on my desktop, I'm not seeing ads there anymore, actually. So for that reason, we felt that this pie chart didn't really tell the full story. So we decided to reimagine it slightly, and actually we got the figures from the IAB on what the spends were for the different formats. So we broke this, what they're calling display, up into its component parts. And here's what we found. So display, what might be called banner ads, or you might know it as programmatic or real-time bidding, is actually the smallest piece of pie on the entire chart. The big ones here that are coming out of it are, the second biggest here, this 45 million, more than twice display. That's actually native advertising. And this one here, the huge one, the whopper one, that's social. That's social media advertising. So I think, having hacked the data a little bit, I think it's really fair to say that the IAB figures for ad spend in Ireland last year demonstrate that social is eating display. And just like when we're talking about search, we're talking about Google, more and more so it's the case that when we're talking about social, we're really talking about Facebook. So delighted to welcome Roisin to the stage, and she's going to talk to you about the most essential Facebook updates.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about essential Facebook updates. I'm going to be talking about loads of fun things. Well, I think they're fun anyway. Instagram ads, lead generation ads, dynamic product ads, Facebook Canvas, and video ads. So show me hands, how many people use video advertising? Yeah, okay, a few people. So if you use Facebook advertising, you will know. Did I say video advertising? Facebook advertising, show of hands. Loads more. Okay, cool. So if you're doing Facebook advertising, you'll know the targeting is amazing. So let's say hypothetically you want to target women in Ireland aged 25 between 65. You could target them, no bother, on Facebook. If you wanted to target, go a bit a little more detailed, you could also target women in Ireland with children under the age of 2. You could even go more detailed than that. You could target people who have been in a long-distance relationship, people who have just gotten a new job, people who have been engaged for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. It's so creepy. You can do it all. So I just want you to keep this great targeting in mind as I talk to you today, because I'm going to talk to you about a few different ad formats. But the reason all these ads work is because of this targeting. So the first thing we'll talk about is Instagram advertising. So these are not just hipsters taking pictures of their dinner. Okay, there are people taking pictures of their dinner on Instagram. I'm one of them, definitely, but there's a lot more people on it as well. So who's on it? So 22% of people in Ireland actually have Instagram accounts, and half of these log in every day. They have 400 million monthly active users. That's more than Twitter and Snapchat. So I think Twitter's been around for yonks now, but Snapchat is a new one that it's a real buzz at the moment. So the fact that Instagram actually has more monthly active users, I think really says it all. So you really do have to be on Instagram advertising because everyone's on it. So here are 2 examples of Instagram ads that we're running for iClothing and Store at the moment. So you can do engagement ads on Instagram, you can do clicks to website ads, you can do carousel ads, anything you do on Facebook, you can do on Instagram. And here are just 2 examples. So the best thing about Instagram ads is the engagement you get. If any of you ran them, you probably saw loads of engagement. So it's really interesting if you just compare this to Facebook. So 32% of Facebook users will engage with a brand on Facebook, but 68% of Instagram will engage with brands on Instagram. So that's a huge difference. And we've actually split tested this, and we've seen 4 times more engagement on Instagram than Facebook. It is just important to mention, though, Facebook is better for driving traffic, but Instagram for engagement is a winner. So my second update are lead generation ads, and I call these the Google killer because they convert really, really well. So the reason I think they convert well is because you see an ad in your newsfeed and you click on it and then you're brought to a pre-populated form. I mentioned Facebook being a stalker creep. It knows everything about you, so it pre-populates the form and knows your email address, your phone number, your name. So the user has to do very little in order to submit information to Facebook. So I just have 3 case studies. So the first one is motivation clinics. So they wanted people to request a call back, click the sign up button, and then they'd call them back. So we got a lead for $465 for this, which is very good. This is actually 96% cheaper than press. So that is absolutely amazing. The kind of targeting we used were targeting web visitors, targeting their email list, and then lookalikes. Case study number 2 then is Evoca Clinics. Similar to motivation, we wanted people to request a call back and get a quote. The cost per leads were so low for this. They were $283, which again is amazing. Since starting Facebook, their lead generation ads have increased by 1,120%. So that's really good. The targeting they used were more interest targeting, so targeting Amanda Brunker, body modification, lingerie, Wonder Brand, bikini models. My third lead gen case study is iClothing. So these are a lot cheaper because all iClothing wanted in this case were emails. Emails are really, really important for iClothing because they send out all these newsletters and they get really high conversions from that. So emails are really, really important. For this campaign, we had a small enough budget, so we just got over 400 emails, and we targeted fashion interests and similar brands. So I just want to remember what Brendan was talking about earlier about how important these emails are, and I think Alan was saying they're really, really important brand assets. An email is an audience, and you can target these emails again using customer match and custom audiences. So to get that person for 39 cents is amazing. So my next update are dynamic product ads, and I call these remarketing on steroids. So if any of you shop on ASOS, if you've added something to your basket and haven't bought it, you've probably seen an ad similar to this in your Facebook newsfeed like 10 minutes later. It's scary. I actually didn't want to buy that dress, and then I bought it. So thanks ASOS for that. Of course, when I saw this ad, I had to screenshot it because it was just so hilarious. So what Facebook or ASOS are doing is they're using Facebook dynamic ads. So they know what you're looking for on ASOS, and then they know you haven't bought it, so they're going to retarget it to you. So this is an example of one we're doing for iClothing at the moment. So why are they brilliant? Well, I think they're bringing your advertising to the next level. If you were to do dynamic product ads manually, if you were to pick every product and target every person in a carousel ad, it wouldn't be possible to do it at scale. So this kind of automation is absolutely amazing. It's really going to take your products to the next level. It's so relevant. You're only targeting people who viewed certain products. And there's an opportunity to cross-sell and upsell, which again is a huge benefit to them. So my next update is Facebook Canvas. So this is like a really fancy pants way of showcasing images, text, and videos. So why Canvas is fab, there's a few reasons. It's really shiny and new. Some of you might have never actually seen a Canvas in your newsfeed yet. I'm going to show you an example, so you will have seen one. But anytime Facebook comes out with something new, basically everyone goes crazy and will engage with it. So because it's so new, if you jump on the bandwagon now, I guarantee you'll see really good engagements from it. It's a really full-screen immersive experience. So I'll show you an example now, but it takes over your whole mobile screen. It is mobile only, and you can't go anywhere else. You have to really immerse yourself in the experience because it is taking over the whole screen, and there's no coding required. So this is an example of a canvas we ran for Dublin Airport Platinum Services. So this would be the ad you'd see in your newsfeed. You click the button, take the virtual tour, and then you'd be brought to this. So this is going to be a little demo. So it, as I said, takes over your whole screen. I'm really glad I got my nails done when I was doing this. You can do a carousel, so it'll swipe to the right. Again, there's lots of text. You can do like 360 video if you have it, which is really cool. You can show videos. There's an example of the video. And there's a call to action at the end, and you're brought, in this case, you're brought to the website to download the brochure. So it's really, really cool. And as I said, there's no coding required. So this was just, we used the photos and the videos that we already had. So if you have nice video photo assets, then this is perfect for you. And what's amazing with this is we've actually seen a conversion rate of 3% for this. So it does convert as well. So my last update is video advertising on Facebook. It's cheap as chips, I'm sure everyone knows that, and it's a really powerful remarketing tool. So I'm sure many of you have ran video ads. When I made that mistake at the beginning, a few of you had your hands up. So this is an example of an ad we ran for Tesco about how to cook the perfect steak. If you've ran video ads, I'm sure you got your cost per views for 1-2 cents. We got cost per views here for about ½ cent, so that's absolutely amazing. You could leave it there and just say, job well done, pat yourself on the back, or you could use that audience for something else. So with Facebook, you can collect your viewers and you can remarket to them with different content. So this is absolutely amazing. This is something that Anna's going to be talking in a bit more detail about later on. So for this example, we got 50,000 views. So that's 50,000 people. That's 50,000 people we can remarket to, so that's really important. So we decided to show them content, you know, a recipe with steak, or maybe it was an offer showing there's a discount on steak. So again, this is just a really, really important remarketing tool. And again, it just shows how you can have a view for ½ cent, and that's a person that you can collect in an audience and remarket to. This was probably, for me, the most exciting update Facebook's had in a while. Another example of this is the Littlewoods, for Littlewoods Ireland. We showed their TV ad on Facebook to quite a wide audience of females interested in fashion. And based on how many people were engaged with the video, so if they viewed 50% or 100%, we then remarketed to them with content. So for example, the people who viewed 100% of this video, we then showed them the products that were featured in this video because we knew they'd be interested. So again, it's just a really, really smart way of advertising and showing your content to the right people. So why are they gorge? Few reasons. They're so feckin' cheap. ½ cent views. And remember, that view is a person that you can remarket to, so that is so cheap. You can collect your audiences. You can segment them based on how much they've watched and retarget to them. And of course, video is just an absolutely amazing way to get your brand message across. That is all my updates. Here I am having a dance. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks a million, Roisin. So that's going to bring us to our first coffee break. So I've been asked to make sure if anybody's going outside the building, will you please bring your tag, your barcode, otherwise it's really problematic for getting back in. We've a load of selfie sticks. You can have a lot of fun this weekend with a selfie stick. If you want one, we've 2 of our wolves out there. If you take a selfie of yourself with the wolves, you get to keep the selfie stick. And it's great if you stick it up on Twitter or whatever else. Yeah, so please, the time is, what time is it now? It's 1:15. So 50 minutes, so we'll be back in here for 1/2 past. So 50 minutes, teas, coffees, all of that jazz out there.